Hello, and a very warm welcome to this episode of Turnkey in Trimmings. In the studio this week, I have the pleasure of the company of Matt from PropDoc. How are you, Matt?
Very well, thank you, Barry.
Good. And this one, we are going to be talking a bit about technology in the construction and fit out and renovation industry. So before we get into that, because we're going to touch on different generations, how we do certain things, give us a bit of an introduction as to who you are, what PropDoc is all about, and your views on the technology in the industry.
Sure. So my name's Matt, born and raised in the UK. I had a previous life in architecture, so I understand all the design industry,
Yeah.
worked out in the UK and Dubai, and then had a pivotal moment moving to the world of chartered surveying, digital surveying, and all that fun stuff. So I became a chartered surveyor out in Dubai, qualified with the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors,
Yep.
RICS, and then eventually moved into property technology. And I founded PropDoc at the end of 2023.
Right.
And PropDoc is property documentation. So we use reality capture, LiDAR photogrammetry. We scan a building using lasers and produce point cloud models, as-built drawings, BIM models, so on, and basically digitizing what is a dinosaur industry.
Right, indeed. Which is why we're talking about it today, because like I say, it's good terminology there, dinosaur industry. There's a lot of I suppose I want to say the word lethargic ways of doing things within this industry.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that have been in the industry for a long time as well. And I wanted to get your input on how you see the whole technology thing working, because you've just mentioned a couple of things that PropDoc does there that to some people in the industry, they're like, what is he talking about?
Yeah.
And what have you what actually led you to set up PropDoc in terms of digitization has been, I suppose, a buzzword across industries, not just the renovation, fit out and construction. What was it that led you down that route specifically?
I could see the traditional ways of doing things was really tiresome, really monotonous. And someone who's my age, I'm born in 93, right? So I'm sort of in that cusp of the old and the new with technology advancing. I was measuring buildings with a tape measure, hand sketching these floor plans, and it was painful, especially in the summer here. Right?
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, this technology came about, which is LiDAR, which is essentially lasers. And I could see a path forward on how to digitize the properties, the built environment in a new, faster, more efficient way, but also capturing a lot more data with very little mistakes. So I came about it doing my own research, digging into it when I was working in valuations,
Right.
trying to find more efficient ways of inspections
Mhm.
for properties. And it took me down this rabbit hole of technology. Then I eventually worked in the space in the Middle East, and that led me to setting up PropDoc.
Right. And so the idea of streamlining things and making things easier, I'm completely on board with it. My background is in technology. I can see it. Why do you think that so many businesses in our industry or companies in our industry are a little bit reticent to take it on board and really utilize these tools that are available?
I ask it's myself the same questions sometimes.
Oh, you mean you don't have the answer? Oh, man.
I have a feeling it's a generational thing to an extent.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a real estate or industry specific. Like I look at my parents' generation and they find certain technology much easier to adapt. For example, Uber.
Yeah.
They can use that. But when you ask them to do something on a PC using AI, it could be a lot more challenging for them. So that might be part of it. And you touched upon it, lethargic, especially when you have a big corporate and they have a fixed way of doing things.
Yeah.
To change the workflows in that size of organization can be challenging, particularly if you don't have the expertise in-house.
Yeah, suppose so. But for me, running a business and seeing the potential improvements that could be made from that, in my brain, it's the no-brainer for doing that. And so I wonder how much of an impact the generational thing has on it. and whether that's a huge element. I understand technology and, this whole analogy of, a large ship takes a long time to change direction, but it seems in some cases that a lot of these large ships are not trying to even change direction and adopt it. And that's the bit that I struggle to get my head around.
Yeah.
But I guess there must be then a huge, or is there, sorry, I shouldn't assume that. Is there a huge education piece in what you do with your clients? And how do you go about that if that's the case?
For sure. There is a big education piece. So I've been in rooms where I've presented to 25 top execs within a large organization, large corporate. And I've also been in the room with the guys who are actually out on the field. And it's a similar reaction. It's like, what do you mean you can use this handheld scanner to scan? What do you mean by point cloud data? And how is that going to spit out my as-built drawings or 3D BIM model? It's educating them, showing them the technology. I find demos and walkthroughs of the tech particularly helpful for the end client because they can actually see what the process is.
Yeah.
And then there's others who really just want to see the end result. They don't care how you get there. If you tell them you can do it in 50% of the time and it's half the cost, then they're all set for it, as long as it works.
Yeah. I suppose that's a big part of it. The proof is in the pudding, right? In terms of being able to do it. But how many times when you demo this, is a yes afterwards? Then I'm going to assume it must be high percentages but again, is that true, or are there still people that see it, they can see the outcome, that you can tell them it's going to save them 50% time, 50% on the budget, and they still go, well, I'm not so sure?
Yeah. So it depends on the category, I'd say, of client.
Right.
Some are tech first and really driving innovation. But to be fair, it is also might not be as cheap as you think to start with, because a lot of the savings come down the line.
Right.
So if we talk fit out and renovation, you are going to save a lot of time later down the line if you have accurate as-built from day one. If you start with inaccurate drawings and you base your design off those, maybe don't have full information, MEP is not there, whatever the case may be, and then you base all your design off that, and then lo and behold, midway through the renovation, drawings are wrong.
Doesn't fit.
Right? So you're stopping all the contractors on site, and going back to the drawing board, essentially. So there's a huge cost and time saving later down the line, and it's trying to showcase that at the beginning is sometimes the challenge that not everyone would go for.
Yeah. And so this brings it back to that whole generational thing again. Do you think that in this age that we live in now, where everything is on demand, immediate gratification, you've got your Netflix, you've got your Spotify, whatever I want, and I can order something to eat and it'll be delivered to my door. Everything is to my convenience. Do you think that has an impact on it, that you telling me that I've got to wait, let's say 2 months or 3 months or however long it is down the line for me to see that benefit, people are like, too long, I'm not waiting?
Yeah, that certainly happens. Yeah, that does certainly happen.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a recent case where when it's mandated, which some organizations are now mandating the use of LiDAR,
Right.
which is fantastic because they see the value in it. And then there's others where are literally hand sketching with a tape measure on site. And we did a demo for them, and we took the tape measure and the hand sketch and the laser scanner and showed the client face to face on the differences on how quick or how much faster it was on site, but more importantly, how much more data you capture within an hour.
Yeah. And accurate data.
Accurate data and 3-dimensional.
Yeah.
Remember, a tape measure is 1 2-dimensional point of measurement. I'm capturing hundreds of thousands of point of measurement per second, building a 3D environment where if I'm hand sketching and trying to figure out all the nooks and crannies and the staircase coming down diagonally, all those, that's very difficult to do with a traditional survey.
Yeah. No, for sure. This is why, again, whenever it comes to technology, in my mind, I was, why is there pushback against this? And I guess that leads me into the next element, is that do you, in your role and what you do. And we're going to touch on a couple of the other bits of technology that you utilize, because I always find it fascinating because it involves drones and stuff. So I want to talk about that. But do you think that with things like AI and it becoming, for me, it feels like a buzzword now that everyone's like, oh, we're AI enabled, we use AI, we're in and amongst that. Do you think that that's having an impact on whether or not a business would actually still choose to go down the tape measure and manual versus using the technology? Do you think that there's a pushback against it because they don't want to be part of what's seen as a fad, or for want of a better word, I suppose?
I think in our particular field, I'm not seeing it as much, but I know that if you're digitizing a workflow and it's using AI, plenty of my friends on the tech side are seeing that very recently.
Hmm.
I think the wave of the AI buzzword, as you say, the industry of AI, digitizing, streamlining, and so on and so forth, was really powerful, and you saw that in the markets. But now, even like the big guys at OpenAI and places are now saying maybe we were overhyping the market slightly, you know,
Maybe.
maybe. And now people are becoming skeptical
Mm.
about it, and rightly so, because the proof is in the pudding,
Yeah.
and you don't know until you try. So there's one argument to be had, say, if you don't try, you don't know.
Yeah.
But then there's also the skeptics saying, well, you've tried, so why should I when I know it's not going to work? Right?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, no, that's true. That's very true. It's just a fascinating scenario, I think, when it comes to technology and which bits take off and which don't, literally, in this particular scenario. Because you've talked about some of the things that you do with the LiDAR scanning and the models that are built, but you also have a side of the business that involves drones and whatnot, I'll say. But can you tell us a bit more about that, and how have drones become a part of this industry, as it were, when I suppose traditionally, when they came on the scene, it wouldn't necessarily be a tool that you would see leaning towards the construction or fit out industry, but it obviously is. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So PropDoc was the original company, digital surveying.
Yeah.
Digital surveying is a much broader term than just surveying for properties, right? And just using LiDAR on the ground. It became very apparent to me within the first few months that we needed to become more of a turnkey service, offering the right tool for the job.
Yeah.
And I was getting all these leads in that I could not fulfill, and a lot of them were drones. Hence why we incorporated that into our offering.
Right.
So drone surveys could be for progress monitoring of construction sites,
Right.
could be energy of solar farms being built, could be a master development villa community, could be asset inspections of telco towers, overhead power lines. It's used in various industries, not
Yeah.
just construction.
Right.
And more specifically on the construction side, progress monitoring would definitely be the main one.
Yeah.
Media to show, let's say, the finished product.
Right.
Okay. And that could be aerial.
Yeah.
But that could also be inside a property. So you have these small little drones,
Right.
FPV, which would be first person view,
Yeah.
where imagine you put these goggles on and you duck and weave under the table and create all these really cool shots
Yeah.
for marketing purposes, right? So it's often captured at the end of a renovation,
Right.
so the contractors can showcase the beautiful new squeaky
Oh
toy,
yeah.
so to speak. So yeah,
Yeah. Well, this also then is that, for me, again, it would seem an obvious solution that everyone should be using those, because, and even when we do things like we've got static cameras, you've got gimbals and things, but drone footage just looks different if you've got a good pilot. I suppose that's also in there. But when it's going through these various properties, whether it's commercial, whether it's a residential one, and the flybys and the view that you get, the the difference between that and what you see in certain areas in terms of representing that final new squeaky toy, why isn't everybody using the drones to do all the marketing stuff?
so in the UAE and this part of the world, drones are highly regulated. So your aviation authorities, your Ministry of Defense, Even emirate by emirate differs.
Okay.
So someone like us, we're commercially licensed, commercially registered. We have the correct insurances. We have the certified drone pilots. The drones are all under the same entity. Like there's a lot of steps in order to be a commercial drone pilot. That's the first so barrier.
Yeah.
Government charges daily fees.
Right.
So that's also maybe a barrier to entry, which is cost for these projects.
Yeah.
So you often see it on bigger projects where the budget allows for it.
Yeah.
Maybe on a smaller project, you might go for something a bit more traditional, the gimbal, let's say.
Yeah.
Rather than the FPV drone shoot.
So, you don't have to answer this, but is it true that I completely understand that everybody should be doing it the right way, but if you were to buy if I was to buy a personal drone and I flew it through my apartment that I wanted to put on Airbnb, for example, and I hadn't registered, etc., and I hadn't done all of those things, can that be detected that I'm doing that in terms of they know how many drones are in and around the country and who should be and who shouldn't be, and that I'm actually doing something I shouldn't be doing?
Good question. So I think that's still very much a gray area.
Right.
However, Dubai has now recently reopened hobbyists flying drones.
Okay.
So if you go on to the Dubai flight map, you can see green areas where you can fly your drone outside,
Right.
so long as it's registered, and that you update where you're going to fly and what time.
Right. Okay.
So Palm Jumeirah, for example, areas of that you can now fly. I think Blue Waters Island as well.
Right.
And then pockets of Dubai as well. But if you're near an airport, for instance,
Well,
you've got no chance.
yeah, yeah. Quite right too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I just think that the footage that it can provide, say, there's obviously a cost associated with having it all done legitimately. But even for some of our projects, you think that fly-throughs for some of the finished products of apartments, of offices, of residential spaces would be fantastic. But we haven't done enough of the due diligence to say, can we or can't we do that? Just come to you guys.
That's what, If you come to someone like us, it doesn't have to be us, but someone like us who knows what they're doing, we take care of all the permitting and whatnot for you guys. So then it is very much a turnkey service.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. Well, we might be having a conversation off the records of the podcast from that side of things. So you obviously incorporate a lot of different technology into the business, and you've touched on different areas of making things easier. I wanted to get into this whole idea of our customer. I'm quite a bit older than you are, from that side of things, and this whole impact of the generational impact on technology, and more about the expectations of our customers now and in the future, because obviously we've got Generation X's, we've got Millennials, we've got Zs, we've then got Alphas and Betas, and they're coming. I think my two, who are 7 and 6, are classified as Generation Alpha, and they don't, because I don't let them have it. But if they could have an iPad, if they could have, they'd be on there. They'd know how to use it. They, speak to lots of kids. And so I wondered what your thoughts were on the next generation of our customer coming through, for whether it's construction, fit out, renovation. I suppose it's a question about where's PropDoc going, and what do you think the expectations are of the next generation of our customer in terms of what they expect of us, how they expect us to deliver it, and where the technology comes in?
I think it's all going to be digitally native, because that generation is inherently digitally native. Our generations, we weren't born with the internet or mobile phones or PCs for that matter, right?
Yeah.
Smart watches and so on. They're born with it, and that's what they're used to. Their toys are these devices to some extent, right?
Yeah.
So Netflix or Blockbusters, right, is very different workflows. So they would probably look upon our workflows today and think, not bad, but you can definitely do better. I think, particularly for me, I'm sort of in that generation where it's bridging the gap between, I don't like to use the word old and the new, right? But in some cases it is, where people aren't very well equipped on the digital side, but they're very experienced when it comes to construction, design, and this new generation might not will definitely won't have that level of experience, right? So innovation can only happen as fast as people are willing to push it, and it has to happen from both generations. I think I dread to think how your kids' generation are gonna look upon our businesses and think, "Wow, guys, you could have done a lot better," right?
What were you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And it is. I think it's. Do you think that the technology will support how they expect to interact with us? Because they'll look at it and go, so inefficient. Why would you guys do that? Do you think that the technology, and obviously it's moving at a rate of knots, do you think it will keep up with the expectation of that generation and what they think we should be delivering as a company and for them as a client?
I think it depends on the workflow and the organizations that we work for or they work for, right? Uh, If we're talking about data collection of construction sites, I think there's fast growth in that sector already. These 360 cameras on a hard hat, walking around sites,
Yeah.
collecting more data than we could ever with cameras and whatnot. That's already changed, and we're adapting to that situation. We have adapted. And what will happen next is the question then, is where does it go from there? I think it's a lot to do with the digital workflows. What happens after data collection?
Yeah.
What data can you extract from the 360 photographs? Can you automatically detect the construction of the flooring, the structure, walls, MEP, and so on? And to what percentage are they?
Yeah.
There's some companies now already that are using machine learning with computer vision that is training their system to identify what the walls, the windows, the doors, the cables, the lighting looks like, and applying the percentages on a floor by floor level. And then let's say if you have finance on that build, you give that system to the bank or to the lender,
Yeah.
and they can very quickly and efficiently draw down on the funds for the next set of
Right.
the build percentage or build stage. So it's happening,
Yeah.
but are the clients willing to go for it? I think some are, and some are still stuck in that dinosaur age.
Yeah, I agree 100% because then that poses the question of a lot of AI works on large language models, and you can build a large language model from anything. And as you said, a lot of the and it's not meant. I'm not saying it's a derogatory term. Boomers, because of when they were born, their businesses, and they're at a certain point, is that the knowledge that you mentioned earlier, they've got so much experience in the industry. Does it make them redundant because actually the AI can learn all of the experience they've got in seconds, that you don't need them to download that information into the language model as such?
I think that's so nuanced. I think personally, is my personal opinion, that the older generations that have that wisdom and experience is so invaluable, because when you're on site and something goes wrong, AI is not going to tell you what to do to solve that.
Mm.
Health and safety, can that be digitized? Probably to an extent, but still, it's very much, there's a physical element to it with your
Yeah.
PPE and whatnot. Passing down experience is one thing. Passing down knowledge will probably become a lot easier and a lot quicker to absorb.
Yeah. 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 That makes sense. I'm a big proponent of using the AI to do the bits that we as human beings perhaps don't want to do, actually, and then allow the human beings to do the bits that they're good at. And I still very much agree that the experience is invaluable, and the ability to know how to put that experience into practice. But then there's another part of me that says, yeah, but surely an AI with this much processing power can take every single variable and every single outcome and produce the right action for that scenario.
Yeah.
Which is, this is what goes on in my brain in terms of, oh, but we still need this, but do we need this?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what the conversation about today is. This, well, for you guys at PropDoc, what technology is next on your horizon in terms of you seeing that we're going to have to integrate into this full project offering, that we have this turnkey offering that we have. What's next on the horizon?
So we're very much at the initial stages of the design and build. Let's say it's a plot of land. We could use a drone to produce a topographic survey very quickly. So that's at the early stage. Same with a renovation. We'd come in and scan and produce the as-builts so the design team can go on and do their part. So it's now keeping the client in our sphere for as long as possible. So adding tools that actually add value.
Right.
Progress monitoring would definitely be one, where we're adding tools for virtual inspections, and you can use a time lapse to go on and track the progress, which is great for auditing disputes. Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah, I'm sure you know all about
That's a huge one. Yeah. Yeah.
And then finally is digital logbooks. So actually digitally documenting a property. And how does that data then get transferred eventually to the next owner or tenant or inhabitant of that property?
Yeah.
Right? Think about it. Logbooks in a car, they used to be paper and pen, right?
Yeah.
In the glove box.
Yeah.
Think about it like that, but for a property and then gets handed over as you sell the property. You start to build up this database of each specific property, insurance, tenancy contracts, fit out, materials, like so on and so forth. There's so much data that could be in one place.
Yeah.
And that really then is keeping the client within the PropDoc sphere for much longer.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. The longer they stay in our sphere, the better service we can deliver to them. So being the generation that you are and building a business around the technology and the space that you have done, the advent of AI, the evolution of everything that's going on, positive or negative for the future?
Positive. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're at the cusp of that boom, right?
Yeah.
I was probably a bit too young to see the boom of the internet, but I've certainly researched about it and listened to a lot of podcasts as well about it. And there's some similarities. Markets will go up, markets will go down, but I think inherently that the use of AI and computer vision and machine learning combined is going to be really powerful for our industry. I can only see the benefits within our industry.
Yeah. I'm inclined to agree, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how the next generation of people working in our industry with their digital native mindset take some of this technology and the applications. Because again, some of the stuff they come up with, I'm thinking, how did you get to that conclusion with that bit of technology? It's brilliant. It's fantastic. And I can't think like that, but the next generations can. And that's the bit that fascinates me, to see how it's going to change things, how I see it with my parents as well, where I'm like, oh, so old fashioned. And I can see my kids looking at me going, what are you on about, Dad? It's so old fashioned. And this cycle continues. So it's going to be fascinating to see what the future holds. But is there anything else that we haven't talked about that we should talk about, Matt? Or anything specific you wanted to mention?
Well, I was going to ask you, what do you see that's going to be the game changer in your particular field?
I think it's going to be this idea of taking all of the data that we currently have available for the years that we've been in operation, of different size projects with different requirements, different clients, and building our own large language model that we can stick an agent on top of to be able to extract. We do it to a certain extent at the moment with our fit out cost calculator, just to give people an idea of where they should be thinking about budget wise, depending on the space and what kind of fittings they're looking to put in there. But I think that there's a lot to be done with the technology right now. And I think you're right, we're on that cusp to be able to take all of that data that we have that's in-house and currently sat dormant, and actually activate it and have it working for us from that side of things. So it's that integration of the AI element, but getting our own data from the large language model and having our own agents, if you like, interrogate that for the benefit of our clients. I think that's the immediate future. The distant future, I have no idea, because again, it's going to take a digital native coming in and saying, why do you do that? Why don't we do it like this? And go, sounds like a good idea.
And then you have to be willing to listen and change.
100%, yeah. And I think that definitely within our business, we're open to it, because we know that we don't know what we don't know. And that's why we have people coming in to tell us, hey, this is a better way of doing it. And again, it's especially when it comes to the digital natives, it's something that is so far left field for my brain. Like, I would never have come up with that idea, but let's try it.
Yeah.
And so hopefully we see that carrying on for the future. And like you, I'm very positive about it. Great. Well, thank you very much, Matt. Thanks for taking the time to join us. Thanks for coming in. And we'll hopefully catch up very soon. And we may well have a conversation after this just about some drone footage for finished projects.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into this episode. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe on the various different channels, and we'll catch you on the next episode.